Hey y'all, grown black folks talk back out on the climb. Another beautiful day in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. Well, coming up on a 3-year anniversary for me, and it's significant because my algorithm at present overlaps with Themis and Thoth. And June 19th will mark the 3-year anniversary since I left. And I think I probably went over in October why. I think I discussed safety theater and how June 17th and 18th of 2022 showed me that there was a taste for the foolery that was not going to be moderated, and there was no point in pretending that it was. And then Stockton Rush, unfortunately, in 2023 gave us a model for safety theater before unfortunately destroying himself and everyone who was with him on the Titan when it imploded, June 21st, 2023. So I've already talked about that as much as I intend to, because again, these are not people that I hate, and it was not for hatred that I left anyone. And it's because I have no hatred that I haven't spent a great deal of time talking about those incidents. But what I haven't talked with y'all about, and it's going to help me pivot my algorithm, I haven't talked as much about myself and about just everyday life, just being me. I'm not going to ever come on here and just boast about this, that, and the other. I have fiduciary responsibility. FIDUCIRAY, fiduciary responsibility. I can't tell you about everything that I'm doing, but no cap, it's quite a bit. And so how did I get the time to do all those things? Well, before Theis and Thoth, I was already secretary of the board for the El Bethel Arms and Terrace. Y'all can look that up at your leisure. And that's senior housing for about 500 people. One of the things that we were able to do, and this is public record, is to force San Francisco to honor a agreement that it made. When San Francisco, well, let's back up a little bit more. Around 1970, a gentleman named Justin Herman, who was bosom friends with Richard Nixon, decided that where black people lived was too valuable to have poor people on it. They had plans, and they proceeded to take over these areas of the city over the next 10 years, and in the next 30, move black people out of San Francisco. Because of the planning documents for San Francisco, beginning in 1947, the plan was to move African Americans out of San Francisco, and the planning document for 2040 has no African Americans as part of the population here, by hook or by crook. But it really got started in 1970. So, but there were, in order to trick people to give up their property without having to be problems, they gave them vouchers and promised that they would be able to move back in when redevelopment was completed. Well, the El Bethel Arms and Terrace went to San Francisco and said, we watched what Booker T. Washington Center did and said, no, you're going to have to honor these vouchers. Our property was built by a black church. We are not going to let you sit there and do this foolery. So Booker T. Washington managed to force the issue, so then we managed to force the issue. So that some of the people that grew up in that neighborhood have been able to come home and live out their lives where they wanted to live them, because they had those promised vouchers. So they move up to the front of the list for any new housing that opens for their age class. This is something that I am personally very happy about. Another thing I'm personally very happy about is that we've managed the property so well that we've been able to expand our vision a little bit to work with other generations of people through the residuals. Now, the property itself is only for senior housing, but we've been able to start another foundation and be able to make sure that young people in the community are able to go to college and have some financial support doing that. It takes a lot of work to do that. That was already in process. We had to untangle our building from people that were going to open their mouths in 2015 talking about you can come in through the back door. That was the last time Mr. Trump was in office. Folks were getting real bold and bodacious. They left by the back door and prayed for the privilege of leaving. God is not going to let his people just keep getting run over if we decide that we're not going to do that. So that's my real life. That takes a tremendous amount of time. Like I said, you can look up at your leisure and kind of take up your estimation on how much responsibility I have on that. But that was there in the first place. And when I started spending 5 and 8 and 11 hours a week rotating foolery, and it's not that Themis did not have some really good shows in that time period. The adultification show of black girls changed my life. It explains why at 44 years old, I already have 35 years of actual service to the black community, doing actual work. My first secretary job at 9, my first music teaching job at 16. Way too much responsibility for someone whose brain isn't even grown. But I was gifted and called, so I managed it. I managed it. It set me up to be doing what I'm doing today. There were some amazing shows on there. And even Cynthia G in the past, a decade ago, she read the quote from Henry Berry, 1732, Virginia State Legislature, quote, and I'm not going to, I have to paraphrase it. You know, Henry Berry is out here talking about, we've already destroyed all access of light to the slave's mind. And if we could destroy the facility by which the slave's mind can receive light, we should then be safe. To tell you the kind of evil that the founders of this country and their bosom friends had, that they literally wanted to destroy the minds of black people so that we could never discover that we were more than beasts. And unfortunately, some of his great-grandchildren managed to co-opt pop society and all our music. It just took a little bit longer. But I wouldn't have known that was the plan as starkly at that age had it not been for Cynthia G. I also sat down with a family that I was tutoring, their daughter at that time, and she read from DSM-5 and the symptoms of psychopaths and sociopaths, their traits, and compared it to the behavioral white supremacy. That was also eye-opening. Both of them are capable of doing work in terms of what they present that really could be eye-opening and really equip the people to deal with what they have to deal with. The problem is that doesn't bring in views. And I've already discussed how they've already, the pretense of safety theater, the white knighting, the slumming. I've discussed it. But what have I been doing with my time? Well, the senior housing was already there, but being able to transition it from where it was occupied a lot of that time, obviously that gave me more time to attend to that. And to be able to see young people that I know benefiting from having done it, to be able to see older black people who fought for civil rights benefiting, it's very valuable to me. Well, something else that I've done. Obviously, I'm able to spend more time out here. And let me just show you. Let me just show you for a second. I'm just going to turn this phone part of the way around, so you can just look at what I'm looking at right now. Okay? I'm giving y'all the slow panorama. That's my view that I'm looking at. It's a very windy day, and you can probably hear the roar of the ocean. That's actually the wind hitting the trees and not me. But I spent more time out here. In fact, one of the things that caused me to realize I could use my time better was between Stephanie Perry and coming out here. And also looking at how exhausted I was in my real life, just because so much was going on then, and it still is. And then I could use my time listening to the wind and the trees and the birds singing, and that was much better for me. Stop having the same old arguments. I spent a lot more time out here. And that assisted me. If you look at my videos, Grown Black Folks Talk predates Themis and Thought by a couple years. If you define my old Facebook videos, Grown Black Folks Talk, on my channel, they're still there. And look at me today, you could tell there's been significant weight loss. Well, was able to put in enough time really kind of get myself ready to climb these hills and put in an hour at a time. I still post anemia. Having not really done that. I just bumped 18, a mile and a half at will, taking care of some business on Saturday. It's just that kind of facility. Once you build it up, if you just maintain it, it stays. And one of my athlete friends says, look, you're 44. If you can keep doing what you're doing, even if it's not as much, if you just consistently do it, you'll find that you'll retain it over the course of your life. Now, my dad is twice my age and is a witness. He's just now beginning to have some challenges, and we're just looking at the challenges. I'm like, no, we're not conceding nothing. My mom is now out here making me sick. All these sit-ups this woman is able to do. We exercise together 4 times a week, and I'm like, for real? My dad, being military, coming about, hey, look at that. That's a real exercise. The airman is sitting up here talking about, we really exercising. And I'm sharing with him pain techniques and management that I actually learned from people his age and just adapted to my situation that we're now adapting back. Well, I had to put in that time outdoors. So me having my afternoons free to come out and spend the time that I need is really important. It's exceptionally important now because my mother requires a little bit more care, and so I don't have the time I used to have. So it was important that I transition and really get the heavy work of transitioning into someone who walks long distances in the years between 2022 and 2025. It was very important that I complete that. I started walking in 2021, but deciding that, no, I'm not going to have anything compete with that because I need it more, because it does more for me, was very important to get that time back just before the summer began. That particular summer, I had also had COVID-19 in May. And when you have COVID-19 and you know it's killing millions of people in the world, and you survive that, it makes you kind of think about how are you using your time. Well, I had to rebuild my ability to walk after that, because the oxygen flow was just different. So I had to rebuild that afterwards, just doing a little bit at a time and just having time to do it when I felt like it, not being committed to things that were not going to improve anything for anybody. It was very important. So that gave me the occasion to be able, for my mother and I to be doing what we're doing today, and for me to just have time to make all the on the climb videos that y'all have seen. I just took that time back. Okay, what else have I been doing? I don't have a copy of it with me. But of course, y'all already know about Seizing the Crypto Bull Run for Financial Freedom. I've talked about it enough times. But on a larger view, it gave me time to really continue my study of how crypto works, and therefore how cyclical assets work. And therefore to see how every single year, provided the economy does not completely collapse in the situation that we're in, and I'm sitting here like the Civil War didn't completely collapse it. So it's possible, but let's say there isn't a complete collapse. How you look at cycles of money that are always going to do the same things every year, every 2 years, every 4 years. They're predictable, and there are a lot of them out there. What does that do for me? Well, and the other thing is that, well, I'll deal with this first. What does that do for me? What that does for me is, even though I don't have a whole lot of money, I do well enough to be able to sit around at 219 or 355. And, people can say, and rightly, well, but you have a different setup than a lot of us do. Well, but you still got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. I was in a chat of Judge Alicia Thomas. Alicia, AELICIA. And she covers hot topics too, but I'm really enjoying her model of covering hot topics, because she's going to break it down for you in a legal way, she's going to break it down for you in a Christian way, and she's going to make you laugh. And she's about maybe 15 years my senior, 13 to 15 years my senior, just a brilliant woman. Judge, been a mayor of her town, just out here doing it for the young people. And really doing quality analysis of a lot of things that are in popular view, but really doing quality analysis and giving information to help our lives. And one of the things that she talks about is, and I was in her chat, we were talking about it, people don't understand that if you work, you have investment capital. You just have to make some decisions about how are you going to use the money that you have. And people feel like they barely have their heads above water and that they need certain things to cope with their situation. Well, if you can deal with the discomfort of not spending all your time and energy coping, you can start with investments. And if you understand cyclical assets, understanding cyclical assets means you're not likely to miss as often, but you do have to have patience and you do have to move with the cycle. So you got to learn a whole new system. I learned how to manage multiple cycles between 2022 and 2025, which is why I could sit down in August of 2023 and write out that whole book in outline form. Shout out also to Confidence with Love, who put up the Self-Confidence for Black Women course. The course includes journaling. That is written in that particular journal, actually. She sent me a beautiful journal. And in that journal, I was able to put it in the outline of that entire book in a single afternoon. So I was able to get it written by September. Shout out to True Mystique, who gave me the best crypto cover in history ever in the world on earth, period. And I also used AI tools to help me edit it so it still sounds like me, but y'all are not getting Professor D sitting up here basically doing first-year college explanations of something that's complex already. Crypto is actually not complex. Cyclical assets are actually not complex. It seems complex because we have been made afraid of doing anything that breaks us out of job, consume, and cope. That's the cycle of assets we're in. producing investment capital for other people. Well, I took those years. Now I get up in the morning and I have rewired my algorithm. And I get up in the morning and I have random videos about projects I don't even know what's going on, but that are related to what I'm doing. And one of these individuals was, well, hold on, the groundskeepers are hard at work today. Hold on. The groundskeeper army is out here. They on their job. They doing the darn thing today. I got to get this. Shout out to Trexar Sam, who sent me a microphone that I keep forgetting to use. I got to do better. Do better, Dan. Do better. This is my actual, Trexar Sam is my actual sister. Great travel channel. She was out here traveling before Stephanie Perry was. Wonderful channel. I'll put it in the description. But she sent me a mic because she does these wonderful professional videos from all over the world, and I keep forgetting. So I got to go do that. What was I even trying to say? Yeah, I'm in my mid-40s now. It's definitely starting to happen. Okay, cyclical assets. I get up in the morning now. I'm sometimes minding my own business. And one of these, I just had to start laughing about it. If you're here, you heard this for a reason. Because I asked the Lord to help me understand how to get into Bitcoin and crypto. So whenever stuff like that happens, I just laugh. Because, yeah, finding out about things that are going on that I would have had no idea, but that fit in the research I'm already doing. Shout out to Autumn, former moderator for Theis, who said to me once, you know, it would be okay for you to spend 2 hours a day working on your investments if you can do it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can aim for that. But you know what? I have time now. So I've been busy for 2 years trying to get people to understand how to invest in this present bull run, but it is now June. So time is running out on this one. We've still got 4, 5, 6 months, but you really have to kind of get in, get out. You won't have the profit of people that got the book earlier and acted on it in like 2023, early 2024, but there's still some money to be made. But the main thing is understand the cycle. I'm looking at 2028 and 2020 and 2032. I was minding my own self business about how the global financial system for moving money internationally is going from SWIFT, the present standard, to ISO 20022. Some people call it 20032 in order to not have 232 be how you work with that. 20032 makes sense to me. 20022, it's like in order to also not to get that confused with a zip code. So 20032, I think, is the way we're parsing it. This is how money is going to be moving around the world. And if you look at, okay, what cryptocurrencies are aligned to be used with these, you have a different outlook on maybe not what's going to run crazy in this bull run cycle, but what's going to run crazy in 2028 and 2022 as some of these cryptos are used to facilitate that as people want crypto options to go through there. So I just am able to research things and sit down for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes and be listening to how all this works. Does that put more money in my pocket right away? But no. But remember, crypto is a cycle. So if we're in 2025, I'm pretty much done buying crypto for this cycle. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking for what I'm going to buy for the next two. But if you are not off first base with Bitcoin, we can't even have these conversations. So my time to be able to sit here and understand what I'm looking at for the years to come has to do with taking my time back. Now, I'm going to summarize all these things. You know, my parents keep getting older. It's going to take more and more time. I got 5 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours to spend on what? But let me give you a summary of what that actually means for everybody who shares the algorithm. I'm not saying don't listen to Theis and Thoughts, like I said. Theis, when he wants to, has magnificent shows. I've seen about 4, maybe 5 in the last 3 years. And at least one of those was a very good show. Very good discussion. But I've only seen 4 or 5 because when I don't follow you, I don't follow you. I saw the October 4th show that was such a complete and utter travesty. But I'm not going to talk about that again because I covered it. But there has been at least one show and maybe 4 or 5 that I've watched in the last 3 years that were really very quality. So he's perfectly capable. And I'm not saying don't, because I don't have a right to tell anybody in this algorithm what they don't want to watch. I'm not here to do that. I am going to, however, tell you, those of you who stayed and then went back over and over, let me tell you how much time you lost. For Themis to make 5 to 12 hours a week of content, in my day it was closer to 24 because 5 and 8 is 13 and 13 and 11 is 24. We bumped a 24-hour week, I think, in there, and it may have been 10 days. And I remember I said for the first time publicly, I'm leaving if this keeps up. That was in May. I followed through in June. I don't let my words fall to the ground, ever, if I can help it. Sometimes I can't. I'm human. But if I tell you I'm going to do something, and if I tell you I'm not, you pretty much believe, nope. If I tell you I'm going to do it, if I commit to it, I generally follow through. But let me tell you why. Let's say I published this on June 19th, making it a full 3 years. It's June 16th, and this foolery started on June 17th, June 18th. So we're going to do some easy math. There are 52 weeks in a year, approximately, a couple extra days over. And with there being a couple extra days over, we know there's 7 days in each of those weeks. So let's just do easy math. In 3 years, today being Monday, there are 156 weeks. But we're going to wrap it back to 150 because, people take time off, take summer, and also the math is a lot easier. So let's just sit here and do, how much time did I reclaim? And everybody who stayed didn't reclaim that time. Assuming 5 hours a week. Now for Themis, it makes sense to do that. It builds his channel up. It gives him something to do. I once on the air called it Club Themis. But if that's what you want to do, it's his channel. He can do whatever he wants. Like my father always says, you live in someone else's house. You don't move the furniture. You just leave. So I'm not trying to move the furniture now. But it makes sense for him to do that. He's a lawyer. It's a high pressure job. It hasn't gotten easier in the past 3 years. It's also it's even more complex now. So I'm not knocking him for that. It makes sense for him to spend 5 hours. But for those of you struggling to kind of get some air underneath your wings and solve the problems in your life as opposed to coping with them, let me share something with you. If you spend 5 hours a week, times 150 hours in 3 years, 750 hours. How much is 750 hours? Well, there's 24 hours in a day. So 24 times 30 is 720. That's a whole month, 31 days. If you spent 10 hours, well, you just double that. That's 1,500. Well, 31 days and some change, actually. Yeah, because, no, wait, hold on. 720, 744. Yeah, 31 days and some change. Double it. 62 days and some change. 1,500 hours. If you were to bump it up to 12, how much is 12 times 15? Okay, I actually have to sit here and actually mentally calculate that out because I know the numbers for 10. Okay, so 10 times, okay, so 10 times 150, 10 times 15 is, 10 times 150 weeks is 1,500. So 12 is 240 more. 1,000. Yeah, I can't be right. That's a really high number. 1,740. Hold on. Now that can't be right. Doing math live is sometimes very difficult. But it's a number north of 1,700 hours. Okay, 2 times... No, it's more than that. 12 times 15 is 180. 1,800 hours. I was short. That's 1,800 hours. That's a long time. 1,800 hours is a very long time to be in the same position. When you get to 1,800 hours... we're now talking about 62 days, for just example, to go back to 10. That's 2 entire months. That's 2 months that you could have occupied in changing the situation that you're coping with. And see, that's what I did. That's what I did. See, I don't want to have to just cope with the fact that my parents are getting older and weaker. No, I'm not going to just cope with that. We're going to head off some problems. I have more time for that. I'm not going to just cope with the fact that I can get older and weaker at 44. The body slows down on collagen production. But if you walk regularly, the body doesn't slow down as fast. And I need to lose this weight, not because I'm trying to impress anyone, but because I'm post-ball and obese. No, because I want to keep moving and doing things I want to do. I don't have to cope with the fact that I'm already overweight and it's harder for me to do certain things. No, I've been to the top of my local hills. I ain't coping with nothing. We solving that. I'm not content that the elders of African-American elders and African-American young people don't have resources. I'm not going to cope with the pain of that. I'm going to solve it. I'm redirecting my time into that. I'm not interested in coping with problems. I have the ability and to solve. It's just me applying my time. And for those of you still going in circles, I just applied between 750 and 1,800 hours more. And at this point, the people that have listened to me and understanding cyclical assets have also been able to cope with the things, have stopped coping, and solved some of their money problems. See, the thing is, I'm not a financial advisor. I just watch what's going on and apply. Learning how to use your time to solve your problems is very important. And that's sort of where the channel is going to be going from here. Today, we're talking about how you're occupying your time. Because I just told you something. 5 hours is 1 hour a day for the business days. You find a way to redirect an hour of your time to actually solving the problems you're trying to cope with. Which would mean that you would actually still be able to do whatever recreation you want. Like I said, I'm not demanding that you leave Theis and Thought. It's not my business to do that. I'll break this down for you. 5 hours a day means 5 times a week you find an hour to solve your problems, to start learning the things you need to learn, and you put an hour in. And if you find you're getting into it and it goes over, then you just go over and let some other discretionary things go. That's what I did, just at a unit of time. 10 hours means you take 5 days a week and you put 2 hours in. Like sometimes, shout out to Autumn, again, who said sometimes you may need to put in 2 hours to understand your investments and to understand where investments going in the future. So I had to put in 45 minutes, about 2 hours in total, of understanding what was going on. To understand where investment is going to work in crypto 2 years from today. I mean, not 2 years, 2 cycles from today, which is between 2028 and 2032. Now I'm looking at the future. Put that time in there. If the exercise you're doing isn't doing it for you and you don't enjoy it enough to do it, well, you might need to put time in doing something else. For me, I prefer to be in a park where there are trees. I did go to San Francisco's Embarcadero the other day. That was nice, but water doesn't do it for me. I need trees and birdsong and things blowing into my eye on camera. Excuse me, y'all. Redirect your time to build a recreation that actually rebuilds you. A final note about that. Actually, it's a different video. I'll do a separate video. Things I don't spend my time on without reference necessarily to Themis and Thought. Things I do much less of that give me more peace in my life since then. I'll do a different video on that. All right. Y'all have a good day now. It's video 1, and video 1 is almost 30 minutes. That's actually long enough. All right. Bye.